All right, let's talk about Azure Blob Storage. If you've ever looked at it and just felt completely overwhelmed by all the different terms and concepts, you are not alone. That is a super common feeling. But today, we're going to fix that. This is your clear, simple roadmap to get you from zero all the way to feeling confident with production-ready skills. Okay, first things first, let's get a really simple mental model locked in your brain, because this makes everything else just click. Think of it like this. Your Azure storage account, that's the whole office building. Inside that building, you have containers, which are basically just folders or filing cabinets. And then inside those folders, you have your blobs. Those are the actual individual files. Building, folder, file. Got it? Awesome. That's the key idea we're going to build on. So we've structured this whole explainer as your own personal roadmap. Think of it like a checklist you can use to see what you already know, and, more importantly, to figure out exactly what you need to learn next. It's your step-by-step guide. And to make it even easier to follow, we've color-coded the entire journey. We're going to start in the green zone. That's all the fundamentals. Then we'll move into the yellow zone, where we get hands-on and practical. And finally, we'll hit the red zone, where we tackle the really advanced production-level concepts. It's all about a logical progression, building your skills one step at a time. Okay, let's dive in. We're starting in the green zone. This is all about laying that solid foundation. And trust me, if this part is shaky, everything else gets way more confusing down the line. You absolutely have to get these fundamentals right. So the first piece of that foundation is just understanding the landscape. You need a basic feel for what cloud computing even is, why Azure exists, and why you need a storage account in the first place. It's also really important to know that blob storage is just one of 4 types available. You've also got file, queue, and table storage. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest points of confusion right at the start, blob versus file storage. Here's the simple way to think about it. Blob storage is for all your unstructured data, things like images, videos, logs, backups, and you get to it over the web. File storage, that acts just like a classic shared network drive, the kind you'd have in an office. Knowing this difference is a huge milestone for the green level. Okay, now let's zoom in on blob storage itself. And guess what? Our little analogy is coming right back. You need to know what a blob is, that's the file, and what a container is, that's the folder. It's also good to know there are 3 types of blobs, but honestly, for things like images and documents, block blobs are the ones you're going to use like 99% of the time. All right, our foundation is solid. We are now officially moving into the yellow zone. This is where we stop just talking about concepts and start doing things. It's all about hands-on application and, of course, security. So your first practical steps will probably be right inside the Azure portal. You'll actually create your storage account, your building, then you'll make a container inside it, and you'll literally just drag and drop a file to upload it. This is also where you'll learn the super important difference between making a container public for anyone to see versus keeping it totally private. So how do we actually secure all our stuff? Well, these 4 terms are your bread and butter. Access keys are the master keys to the entire building. Super powerful. The connection string just bundles up that key in a convenient way for your apps. And then you have SAS and RBAC, which are all about granting very specific limited permissions. This brings us to a really, really critical question. You're going to hear everyone say, don't use your access key, use a SAS URL. But why? Why is it actually so much safer? The answer is all about control and limiting risk. A SAS URL is basically a temporary disposable key. You can create one that expires in 5 minutes and gives permission only to read a single file. Meanwhile, your super powerful master key never leaves your secure backend. It really is the difference between giving someone a key to one hotel room for an hour versus giving them the master key to the entire hotel. Okay, let's get to the developer's playground, the code. When you use an Azure SDK, you'll be working with client objects to talk to your storage. You'll write your standard functions to upload, download, and delete files. And most importantly, you'll learn how to generate those secure SAS URLs from within your code. Oh, and one more thing. You'll definitely need a solid file naming strategy to avoid chaos later on. We've built our foundation. We've gotten our hands dirty with some code. Now, it's time for the red zone. This is where we start talking about the features and concepts you need to build tough, efficient applications that can handle the real world. See, in a real project, the questions you ask get a lot harder. It's not just about uploading a file anymore. It's, are you validating that file first? What happens if the network connection drops halfway through? Do you have a retry policy? And how are you storing the reference to that file in your database so you can find it again? These are the little details that make all the difference. The good news is Azure gives you some incredibly powerful tools to handle these challenges. You can add custom metadata to your files, you can enable versioning to keep a history of changes, and you can use soft delete as a safety net to recover files you accidentally delete. You can even set up lifecycle rules to automatically clean up old data, which is amazing for saving money.
And let's quickly clear up a common point of confusion. What is the difference between metadata and properties? It's simple. Metadata is for you. They're custom key value pairs that you get to define for your own application's logic. Properties, on the other hand, are system-defined and read-only. Things like the file size, or the last time it was modified.
And finally, for true production-level mastery, you have to think about optimization and security at scale. This means using techniques like chunking to reliably upload huge files. It means integrating a CDN so your users around the world get fast access. It means using managed identity for amazing keyless security. And of course, always having a strategy to keep your costs down. Okay, deep breath. We've just traveled across the entire map, from the green basics to the red advanced concepts. So the big question now is, where are you on this map? Let's take a second to pinpoint your current level and figure out what your next steps should be. You know what? If you've already written code to upload files, maybe you've generated a SaaS URL before, and you're storing the file path somewhere in a database, well, you can officially consider yourself at an intermediate level. That is fantastic progress, so seriously, good job. So if you're at that intermediate spot, here is your priority list to level up. First, go really deep on SaaS tokens. Understand all the options. Then, bulletproof your error handling and logging. After that, really master using metadata and properties. Then start learning those data protection features, like soft delete and versioning. And finally, start exploring how to handle really, really big files. So, we've laid it all out. A clear path from beginner to expert. You've seen the fundamentals, you've seen the practical skills, and you've